This is the Leofoto MPQ-404C. The model number 404, the first two digits refer to the diameter of the largest tube, which is 40 millimeters or 4 centimeters. And the third digit, which is 4, refers to the number of sections that it has. So the first section is 40 millimeters in diameter. And then if you open that, the second section has a diameter of 32 millimeters, and the third section has a diameter of 28, and the fourth one a diameter of 25. So all the legs are actually quite large in comparison to other monopods or even tripods. And the C in the model number refers to the fact that it's a carbon fiber monopod. So the carbon fiber used in this monopod is made out of 10 layers, which makes it relatively strong. So if you have anything with 8 layers or above, it's a strong monopod. And some of the tripod or monopod manufacturers don't actually mention how many layers of carbon fiber they have, but I've seen manufacturers referring to 8, 10 or 12 as being something to brag about in their marketing material. And the more layers of carbon fiber the monopod has, the more weight it can tolerate. And a similar thing for the diameter of the tubes. So the larger it is, the more friction these locks will have, and the more weight the monopod or tripod can tolerate. Also, when it comes to the top part of the top plate of the monopod, the fact that it's large is quite good for using it with video fluid heads or larger heads. The monopod weighs about 700 grams or 0.7 kilograms, and its folded length is about 58 centimeters, and the maximum height once it's expanded out is about 1.8 meters. So it's a really large monopod, and that doesn't even count obviously the fact that you might put a ball head or a fluid head on top of it, and you might also put a bigger foot or a tripod base on the bottom. The maximum load capacity on it is 25 kilograms, which is quite high for any monopod really. The top plate diameter is about 60 millimeters or 6 centimeters. It might be just 1 millimeter short, like 59 millimeters, but I didn't measure it accurately. It seems like 60 millimeters. On the top plate, it has a 3/8 inch 16 screw, which is retractable. So if you press it in, you get a 1/4 inch 20 screw. So whether you want to mount a fluid head or a ball head with a 3/8 inch 16 thread, you can do that. Or also if you want to just mount a camera directly onto it, you can do that by using the 1/4 inch 20 screw. And this screw has a protection cap as well, so you can put it on top when you're carrying it around to make sure it doesn't get damaged, which might not be a bad idea. I'm gonna leave it out for the time being. Now the monopod foot comes off, and this is also a 3/8 inch 16 screw. So as you can see, you can change the foot, and there's lots of different variations that you can attach as a foot. So there's these ones. So this is included on when you buy the monopod, and this is a spike foot, and this is also included when you buy the monopod, so it comes in the box. And let me just attach it just so that you... And once you attach it, you can use this. Okay, this is the wrong one. You can use an Allen key to tighten it. And there's 2 Allen keys that come with this. So there's a smaller one and a bigger one. Let me just get out the smaller one. So with the smaller one, you put it in there and then you can loosen it or tighten it as much as you want. In my experience, I don't really use the spike foot. Hasn't been necessary for me, but just so that you know, that option is there. And there's also a different type of foot which is shaped like a crown. So you can get those type of foot, the claw or crown or whatever you want to call them, which is really good if you want to use your monopod on ice and you don't want it to slip. I feel like these changing the feet might be more of a issue for tripods than it is for monopods, because with monopods you expect some movement anyway and you have one hand on the monopod and there's only one touch point on the ground, so shouldn't make a huge difference. The one thing which is quite useful to attach to the as a foot is one of those tripod bases that come for monopods. I actually have one. So I have this, this is the VD-02. So these type of tripods are typically used with monopods when you want to do video work. And you can just screw it in just like any other foot that you would on a monopod. And they take 3 8-inch 16 screws. And then you can stand up the monopod like this, so you get more stability when you're shooting video in case you don't have enough space to use a tripod. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what you attach to the bottom base. I'll talk about this tripod base in a minute, but let me just tighten this and unscrew this tripod base. So if you're going to buy foots for monopods or tripods, then if you're buying something which is not the Leofoto brand, or you're buying it from a third party which is cheaper, the one thing I would say is to make sure that the screw part is quite long, so this part here, because that gives you more, I guess, strength and leverage to move it around. Whereas if it's short, it might come off. I don't know if it will come off, but obviously it will give you less strength. In terms of what's included in the box when you buy the Leofoto monopod, it comes with the monopod itself, obviously, and this is the default foot that's attached to it. And on top you have this plate and a little cover for the screw to protect it. You also get this spike foot, so if you did want to change it, you could do that quite easily. And you also get this Allen key and this Allen key included, so you have a larger one and a smaller one. And you get a warranty card and a manual with this plastic pocket. So that's the warranty card and this is the manual. I mean, there isn't much in the manual really. It's quite straightforward to operate a monopod. And yeah, I don't know what this is. It's just, I guess, a sticker or something. And you also get a bag, a carry bag for the monopod. So the bag for the monopod does have some padding, but it's not very thick. Although I don't really expect anything to happen to a monopod. And inside the bag you have a pocket here, and you also have an expandable section here. So if you open the zip here on top, let me see if I can. Once you unzip it, this part will come out, and the advantage of this is that you can attach a ball head or a video fluid head and carry it in the same bag as your Leofoto monopod. Again, this also have a tiny bit of padding, but nothing too much. Yeah, I don't know whether people are concerned about damaging their tripods or monopods and video heads, but I'm not too concerned with the padding. I would prefer the bags to be really light so that I can carry them. In fact, I wouldn't even care if a bag wasn't included, because it would mean that the monopod will be sold for a cheaper price, and I wouldn't be paying for a bag, which I don't probably need. My concern when it comes to camera equipment is the lenses and the cameras, which have electronic parts in them being damaged, as opposed to the monopod or tripod getting damaged while it's being carried around. So I'm not too concerned with the bag. Yeah, it's a bit fiddly to zip this up again, because it comes off completely, so just like a jacket zipper, you have to pull it all the way before you can close it. So I've seen some other bags that don't actually have a zip, they just expand that and then you just collapse it back in with the fabric. Yeah, it's a strap that you can carry on your shoulder, and that's it. And it has a small thing here if you wanted to attach something else to for carrying. Okay, so it has something here where you can attach a strap or something else to carry it, as well as on the opposite side again it has the same thing. So if you wanted to put in your own strap, you could do that. And the monopod itself does also have a adjustable strap, so if you wanted to put your hand in there while you're using the monopod so that it doesn't fall out of your hand by accident. Again, I don't really use the straps on monopods, but it's there if you're paranoid about dropping your monopod and camera equipment. I already have a number of monopods, but the reason I bought this monopod is, first of all, it has a weight capacity of 25 kilograms, and one of the things I like to do is I like to lean my weight on the monopod when I'm using it. So sometimes I have to stand up for really long hours when I'm using the monopod. So having the ability to just put my weight on the monopod is a plus in my experience. And if I have a monopod which has a maximum capacity of 10 kg or less, then I don't feel comfortable doing that. Whereas if it has a maximum load capacity of 25 kilograms, then I know I can have the camera on there and I can lean my weight on the monopod as well without any problems. So this monopod has 10 layers of carbon fiber and it has a diameter of 40 millimeters, which means it's a strong monopod and it shouldn't have any problems with lots of weight on it. And the other thing is I usually use the monopod for video work. And because of that, I don't always do this, but sometimes I attach a video fluid head on top of the monopod. So having a large base with a large monopod with a large diameter and a large plate on top, such as this one, is a plus, because it means when I connect the fluid head to this, there will be enough a larger surface area where they connect, so there's more stability in the connection between the fluid head and the monopod. So those are the two reasons I bought this. The one thing I would say about this monopod, it's not particularly portable. It is light, it is really light, but it's 58 centimeters. And I think 58 centimeters is too big to fit in most backpacks. So if you carry it on the side of your backpack, that's fine, but you wouldn't be able to put it inside a backpack. When it comes to monopods, there isn't really much to say about them. Essentially, they're just a stick that hold up the camera. So the only thing really to mention about this is that it is light and it has twist locks. So keep that in mind if you're looking for flip locks instead of twist locks. And apart from that, yeah, I mean, there's nothing special. And to be honest with you, there's typically nothing special about any monopod really. I will create a separate video comparing this monopod to the iFootage Cobra one and also e-image and a Wellborn monopod. So if you want to be notified once that video is published, press the subscribe button, and once that video goes up, you'll be notified. This is the Leofoto VD-02. It's a tripod base for monopods. So you can attach it to the base of a monopod that has a 3/8 inch 16 screw, and that will give you a little bit more stability than you would get normally with a monopod. So the legs can fold up, and when you do want to fold up the legs, you press this button here and then you fold them up. Sometimes when you press the button, or just before you press the button, you need to pull it down a little bit before you fold it back up. But it's quite compact once you have folded it like this with the monopod attached. It doesn't add that much height to the monopod. So this one is made from aluminum alloy, and the folded length of this tripod when it's in this position is 16.5 centimeters, and the maximum height, which is the working height when you attach it to a monopod, is 8 centimeters. So from this dimension, it adds 8 centimeters to your working height of the monopod when you're using it. The diameter of this circle when the legs are open is 32 centimeters, and according to the user manual for this tripod, it weighs 480 grams. So let me just show you this. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see this. Let's see if I can. So that says 0.48 kilograms. So 480 grams. But on the website for Leofoto, it says 520 grams. I know it's not a big difference, but I think it's worth mentioning. When you buy it, you get 2 Allen wrench keys as well included, 2 Allen key wrenches, and the manual, and that's pretty much it. So it has this red knob which you can tighten or loosen, and when you move it all the way to the top, you can move the angle of this to this level, and if you straighten it or you tighten this, then obviously this is not going to move because this is pushing against the outer part of the ball head. So the nice thing about this is that when you have a monopod attached, by moving this up or down, you dictate how much of an angle the monopod should move at. So if you don't want any movement, you just want the monopod to be completely straight, you tighten it down all the way and you have this at 90 degrees. If you want your monopod to move more, then you move it further up and it will have more flexibility to move to the side. And then on the bottom of it, you get one of these monopod foots. So this is a nice spare monopod foot to have here as well. But this does 2 functions. One function is to control the drag tension of this ball head. And the other function is to, if you fold this up, then this will essentially be the foot of your monopod instead of the tripod foots acting as a bigger base. So this is both a monopod foot, and it's also used to control the friction or drag that you have on the ball head. So the one thing I wanted to say about this one is the unit that I have received is dysfunctional. So the drag, adjusting the drag doesn't actually work on this. And I have contacted Leofoto about this, and they confirmed that my unit is malfunctioning or is defective, and I should get back in touch with the seller and try to get a replacement. So I don't know how likely it is that this problem is occurring more frequently, but when I did look up the reviews for it, I did see one other person saying that initially when he got his, it was really stiff, but after usage, it became looser. But in my opinion, this is really not functional. So as things stand right now, I can't really recommend this tripod base for monopods, even though I do like the idea of being able to control the angle of this ball head as well as the drag of the ball head so that you can loosen it or tighten it to the degree that you require, because that would mean maybe you don't actually need to carry a ball head or a video fluid head with you. You could just use this for a similar functionality if you're willing to compromise a little bit on what you get out of the video head in comparison to the portability that you get by not carrying a fluid head with you. One more thing to mention about this tripod base is that the maximum load capacity of it is 6 kilograms. So if you were to pair this tripod base with this monopod, even though the monopod has a weight limit of 25 kilograms, because this only has a weight limit of 6 kilograms, the total weight limit that you get after that, left for the camera and the video fluid head, if you wanted to include that as well, would be 5.3 kilograms, because the monopod weighs 700 grams and this has a tolerance of 6 kilograms. So you add this, you only get 5.3 kilograms left to play with. So even though you have a monopod that supports 25 kilograms, you won't be able to benefit from that 25 kilogram limit if you're using it with this tripod base. So that's something to keep in mind when you want to combine using one of these tripod bases with your monopod. Another thing I wanted to mention about this tripod base, the Leofoto VD-02, is that the initial versions of this tripod base had a 1/4 inch 20 screw instead of the 3/8 inch 16 screw. So they silently changed this screw size, and if you look on different websites, there's contradicting information about whether this is a 1/4 inch 20 screw size or a 3/8 inch 16 screw size. So if you do want to buy it, just make sure, double check it with the seller to make sure that the model they have is the one with a 3/8 inch 16 screw size. Unless you want the 1/4 inch 20, but I don't really see anyone wanting to use a 1/4 inch 20 as opposed to the bigger 3/8 inch 16 screw size when you're using a monopod. So the one thing they haven't done is they haven't changed the model number in any way. So there's no way to know from the name and the model number whether it has a 1/4 inch 20 or a 3/8 inch 16 screw. So if you decide to buy it, then keep that in mind. But since this is not functional, I can't really demonstrate how it works apart from maybe attaching it to the foot of a monopod. So once you've attached it, then that will give you the additional stability that you can get from a, maybe not a normal tripod, but gives you more stability than a monopod, particularly when you want to do video work. I find it really useful to have this. I'm going to open this up, and I'm getting in touch with the Leofoto reseller that sold me this tripod base. And if I do receive a replacement one, then I will post the video to update you guys and show you how this actually functions. So yeah, if you want to be notified of that video once it goes up, then press the subscribe button, and I will provide more details about this tripod base. And I intend to compare this to the one from iFootage Cobra, because they also have a similar tripod base and similar monopod with a similar maximum height. And iCan E-Image also has a similar style monopod and tripod base, again for video work, and they sell theirs in a package with a video head as well, and also a well-worn one. So if you also want to see that video, then feel free to subscribe so that you get notified once that video goes up, before you make up your mind on which one you want to purchase. And if you have any questions about either of these products, feel free to let me know, and I'll try to address them, or maybe create a new video to demonstrate how the functionality works. One more thing I wanted to mention about the monopod, which I forgot to mention, is the locks. So with the locks, you shouldn't need to turn these locks more than a quarter or half, maybe half a turn, in order to extend or collapse these legs. So I've loosened it too much now. So this is nice locked completely, and if I just do half a turn, it should open or close. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because if you're comparing these locks to the flip locks, and you want to know how much of an effort it takes to actually open or close these, it's about half a turn. So 180 degrees to open or close them, I would say. And that would give you some, I guess, comparison to which one takes more effort in comparison to the flip locks. Let me know if you have any questions, or you want me to demonstrate anything else about from these equipment, and I'll do so. While I was making this video, the reseller for the Leofoto VD-02 got back to me, and they said that all the units they have a really tight ball head. So they said there's no point of them sending me a replacement because it will have the same problem. And this issue seems to be from Leofoto, so there's nothing dysfunctional from the unit that I received. Although when I spoke to Leofoto, they said that my unit is dysfunctional. But from the messages I've got, I've come to the conclusion that this tripod essentially has a design flaw. So there are other tripod feet that you can find online and buy those instead and use it with the monopod.